Hello everybody, members of the Applied Audio Production class. Welcome to our final mix lesson number 5, and we've got this tune Purgatorio, which we're going to finish up today. If you've been following along with the other 4 mix lessons, then you'll be all set to wrap it up today. If you haven't, then please get caught up and check out those other videos. Today we will be polishing up our mix and adding some reverb. So we'll go through some reverb choices that we can make, adding the bus paths so we can do send and return situation and get our reverb out there for us. We have also the task of creating the full dynamic picture of the song. We'll be getting to that in a bit, but let's start out with adding reverb. Jump over to Pro Tools and let's just talk about the method for adding those buses. The first thing you do, of course, is go up to the track menu and click on New, and we are going to add 3 stereo aux inputs, and they are going to pop up way down here at the bottom. Let's put them right in front of the master, and here we have it. We have them. So we're going to add 3 different reverbs, and I'm going to keep it real simple because I know not everybody has fancy plugins, so I'm using the most basic version of Pro Tools, and the only reverb that comes with this is the D-verb. So we'll use that 3 different ways. Just pick 3 different algorithms for our D-verb, and here we have the return for each of these, for each of the sends. And so in order to get into that, we have to send here in the send section, bus 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 5 and 6, so 3 stereo buses coming over here. So we have to choose that input in order to make it all line up. So bus 1 and 2, bus 3 and 4, and bus 5 and 6. So let me just play a little bit of the song, and then we'll remind ourselves of that, and we'll figure out what kinds of reverb we will need to start adding here. So just going to play the song from the 3rd verse through to the end. We'll check it out in its raw and dry stage before we start adding anything.
Saber que en esta vida no tengo amor, que solo vivo de pena y dolor. Con tu partida quedo en la soledad y muere mi corazón. Un purgatorio en vida voy a sufrir con esta pena de tu amor, predestinado a ser un infeliz, vivir sin ti, quererte así, morir en vida sin ti, oh, sin ti, oh, sin ti, no.
Okay, so that was the dry version of the last few sections of Purgatorio. Now we're going to start getting some reverb in there. I've added these 3 algorithms, verb 1, 2, and 3. The First one is a room, large room, 3.5 second decay time. I'm going to try that on the percussion, maybe the piano. A plate, which we might also try on the piano. Medium plate, which we'll definitely try on the vocal. And then the third one is a hall, medium hall, which we will try on the strings. The horns we'll just have to fool around and see if we can fit them in there. Maybe we have to add in their own reverb. That is the plan. So the first thing is to solo out the group of rhythm section with bass, and then the piano's here. Let's move the reverb, first reverb up there to have it in the picture. So that's the room reverb. And let's see what it sounds like just with these things soloed with this reverb. So it's a little extreme, just so you could hear what it sounded like. Probably turn that down a little bit. Let me do that right now. I just automated that thing, so it's pretty strong, just so you guys could hear it. We're going to add the piano to this picture, and we're going to try 2 different reverbs on it, and jump to this section here where the piano basically has a solo with rhythm section and the voices. But we're not going to hear the voices right now. We will try it with this large room sound, and then we'll try it with a plate. There's a large room. So if we take that out, turn these faders down, and turn up the bus 3 and 4 faders. Send it through the plate. Solo the plate, verb 2. Hear what that sounds like. So listening to both those different reverbs on the piano, it's kind of a difficult choice. But I'm going to go with the second one. It's a lot more subtle. We'll keep the room sound on the percussion. We'll put the plate on the piano. And we'll try the plate also on the horn section. We're looking at them now. And I've added this plate pretty strongly. So see what you think. I was liking that. Kind of subtle, but I think it's going to work. The next thing is the string section. And we'll first of all play them soloed out using this plugin, which is a medium hall, and see what that sounds like. Okay, we'll hear that with the ensemble minus the vocal. So the last thing to add is the vocal. And of course the vocal is so important, but we got to be subtle with our reverb, so we're going to try doing it with that plate, which I really always prefer above all else for vocals. Let's see what it sounds
Saber
like.
que en esta vida no tengo amor, que solo vivo de pena y dolor. Con tu partida quedo en la soledad y muere mi corazón. Un purgatorio en vida voy a sufrir con esta pena de tu amor, predestinado a ser un infeliz, vivir sin ti, quererte así, morir en vida sin ti, oh, sin ti, oh, sin ti, no.
Okay. Well, we'll go with that with reverb. We could take a lot longer and mess around with a lot more sounds, but we're limited in what we have for reverbs, and I don't want this video to last too long, so we'll go with that. Hopefully it was clear to you what I was going for, and we'll hear it some more when we get into this final stage here. We're going to create the full dynamic picture now of this tune, listen to the whole thing eventually. We're going to put some subgroup faders into play and some master faders into play based on this graph of dynamics. So we're going to try to create this shape that I came up with a couple weeks ago. And it's going to be subtle. Like these are not big moves. I just want there to be some different intensities, so that we have some things happening. And how can we do that? Well, we can put the subgroup faders into play and put the master fader to play. Actually, move the master fader just a little bit in those sections where it comes down and where it comes up. So we'll actually do that at the end. But the first thing I want to talk about is actually adding EQ and compression to the master fader, which I have done, and we will see. Just using this regular B-flat Dyne 3 compressor, I put this right on the master, right here. And what we're going to look at in this last stage is actually just a few faders. We don't need to look at all the individual instruments anymore. We're just going to look at the groups. So we've got this group, percussion and bass. The piano I've got by itself in stereo. The horns, that's the bus fader for the horns, the voices, the bows, the string instruments. And I put these three reverbs here. They're going to be moving around a little bit. And then the master, I've got an EQ and compressor. Here's the EQ for the tune that I decided upon. We're rolling off the bass a little bit. We've got 1K pulled down and 5K pulled up a little bit. So just a slight little adjustment on the EQ. And then with the compressor back to that, I'm actually going to show you right now an example of a mix with too much compression. I'm hearing this from people in the class. So this first thing, first little bounce I'm going to show you is actually an example of using compression incorrectly. So that's a pretty good example of over-compression and compression working way too hard. Hopefully you could hear it and also see it. That was clear. And basically all you got to do to fix that is to raise the threshold up to the point where your gain reduction is not, you know, smashing it down so much. You can actually visually see what's happening with the gain reduction, but you can also hear the dynamic range is getting crushed and the sort of the integrity of each instrument getting lost. Everything just feeling like a big smear. So that's what we're talking about when you say the music is over compressed, and very often done in amateur mixes. So here's the same section with the compressor working a little more effectively. Threshold moved way up, and ratio moved actually a little higher into 8.1 to 1. Gain slightly higher, 2.5 dB.
Un purgatorio en vida sufro en mi soledad, saber que ya no eres mía, que nunca más estarás junto a mí. Purgatorio en vida sufro en mi soledad, pero si tú sabes que te quiero y hoy me dejas sin consuelo, poco a poco muere mi corazón. Hey.
So you can see in here that the music is breathing a lot better now, and it's just gain reduction only came on a couple of times, you know, and mainly the vocal was triggering it when he sort of shouted. So now we're gonna follow along as the whole tune goes by in the final mix that I've come up with. We're gonna watch the faders and check out in terms of this graph of dynamics here, where we have basically three levels: this main level in the middle, these 4 times it gets up louder, and then for the verses it comes down. It's basically the shape that it has. And that was accomplished basically in the mix by moving this master fader just 1 decibel. And that's a lot when you're talking about moving the entire mix, all the tracks together. So that middle level starts at -2, it comes down to -3, and the loud spots it gets up to -1. And it seemed to work pretty good. This is, again, the compressor. We'll check that out a little bit. And then, yeah, you'll hear that some things are happening with all the different groups and the reverbs, a few things moving for effect, especially at the end. So let's check it out.
Saber que en esta vida no tengo amor, que solo vivo de pena y dolor. Con tu partida quedo en la soledad y muere mi corazón. Un purgatorio en vida voy a sufrir con esta pena de tu amor, predestinado a ser un infeliz, vivir sin ti, quererte así, morir en vida sin ti, oh, sin ti, oh, sin ti, oh. Un purgatorio en vida sufro en mi soledad, saber que ya no eres mía, que nunca más estarás junto a mí. Purgatorio en vida sufro en mi soledad. Saber que en esta vida no tengo amor, que solo vivo de pena y dolor. Con tu partida quedo en la soledad y muere mi corazón. Un purgatorio en vida voy a sufrir con esta pena de tu amor, predestinado a ser un infeliz, vivir sin ti, quererte así, morir en vida sin ti, oh, sin ti, oh, sin ti, no.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. You can see, and I pulled the compressor out at the very end. It was working a little too hard there at the end. It was a little bit audible, so we'll probably polish that up. A lot of things on the vocal track that could be polished up. It's difficult when you're working with a vocal track that's not amazing to make it amazing. It's really not possible to do, but you do your best. And I'm pretty happy with the vocal tracks, but it definitely could be a little polishing. And then the last thing I would fix a little bit more would be the levels of the horn solos. Didn't spend a lot of time with that, so we could sort of level those out a little more evenly. Otherwise, I think it's a pretty good mix. It's definitely approaching the point that I'm pleased with it. So I hope you enjoyed following along with these different mix lessons, and we'll talk to you soon.